We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. With Maxwell Silverhammer. We are nothing sacred. With cruise control. We are nothing sacred.
Oh, yes. Welcome.
Hello.
Nothing Sacred,
This
the last
is-
show of the year, man.
Yes, the last interview of the year. This is the Nothing Sacred interview. I'm on a phone right now. It's actually funny because I'm actually in another room in the same place that Max is at.
Yep.
So we're kind of chilling. So bear with us. Bear with us if the audio isn't as good as it normally is. But I'm glad to be here. It's gonna be a great show. I am Cruise Control.
I'm Maxwell Silverhammer. And with us, we have Joe. Is it Piersante, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Joe Piersante, who originally started out on the Detroit SWAT team, then wound up with the Drug Enforcement Agency, where you were over in Afghanistan, and you had a firefight that ultimately blinded you. And now you're a motivational speaker, bodybuilder. But let's go back through your history, man. So you started out on the Detroit SWAT team?
Yes, I started off on the Detroit Police Department. I graduated from college in December of '91. I went to a small school in Southern Michigan called Adrian College. I played football there. And my dad was in law enforcement. I decided I wanted to get into law enforcement. So he had worked for the Detroit Police Department. And he worked on several task forces and worked with several other federal agencies. And when I decided to go into I wanted to go in law enforcement, even though he never pushed me that direction. He said that it'd probably be best for me to go federal, just because money tends to be a little better. You get to travel the world, and retirement's a little bit better. But when I graduated from college, DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, was on a hiring freeze. So I went back home to the Detroit area, and the Detroit police was hiring. I took a job with the Detroit Police Department, which I stayed on for 4 years. And the first 3 years I worked on a unit called Tactical Service Section. It was like a high risk patrol unit where we went to different areas of the city, different precincts, we call them. They were having problems in certain areas or were backed up in police runs, and we would help out. We would also do any crowd control type thing, they call it mobile field force. And we would do the outer perimeter on a barricaded gun person calls. And then my last year I was on the job, I had tried out for the full-time SWAT team and made that. My father was on the SWAT team before he retired from Detroit. So at the time we were like the only father-son duo that had been on the SWAT team, even though we weren't there at the same time. So just to clarify, so you pretty much ever since you were younger, because of your family history and everything, you just knew exactly what you wanted to do, exactly where you wanted to go with your life, like from a somewhat early age, right? Pretty much so, because I had been involved in team sports, and I saw my dad working, and he was on narcotics in Detroit for a lot of years, and just saw his groups. And it was just like, to me, it felt like a team atmosphere, a team environment. And I've always been kind of like an adrenaline junkie, per se. And it just kind of pushed me that way. Like I said, even though my dad never pushed it, but when I decided I wanted to do that, he supported it.
I was going to make the joke, Detroit, Afghanistan, same thing. Right?
Just Afghanistan, we got to use a little more crazy type weapons, because in the city of Detroit, even the bad guys might have some. We couldn't use belt-fed machine guns and rocket launchers legally in the city, and hand grenades.
So then you left the Detroit Police Department, and then you went into obviously into the DEA at that point.
Yes, I got hired with I started the Detroit Police Department, and February of 1993, and I went to the DEA in June of 97. So I went to the academy in Quantico, Virginia. At the time, we shared the same academy with the FBI, and went there like for a 4-month time period. And while you're there, nearing the end, when I got hired with DEA, you did not know where you were going. And near the end, they put a list of various vacancies within the continental United States. You're allowed to pick your top 3 choices where you want to potentially go, but you're not guaranteed any of those 3 picks. Especially, like, say you're a fluent Spanish speaker and there's a bunch of spots on the border. Guess where you're going? Probably most likely the border.
Right.
So we could not, at the time, we could not go back to where we were hired from. That was the policy of the administrator at the time for DEA. That's the head of the DEA. They call him the administrator. So being from Detroit, I did not want to go somewhere where it was cold like that. I wanted to try something different. Weather was nice and the cost of living was relatively inexpensive. And so Phoenix, Arizona was one of the choices on the list. They had several in Florida, Southern Florida, that I was interested in, just being the fact that I had family that vacationed and went to Florida seasonally, kind of the snowbird type situation.
Right.
And my wife at the time had a grandfather that had a place in Arizona. And in fact, my mother's mom had a place in Arizona too. So my wife at the time, she had 2 small boys, and we had a daughter together, and we were going to have to move, and she was going to be away from her boys. So she wanted to go to Phoenix, Arizona. So I put it at number 1 on my list, and I fortunately got it. And when I was in the academy, I sent her out to Phoenix to try to find a place to live. A buddy of mine on the SWAT team in Detroit, his aunt was a realtor in Arizona, in Phoenix area. So we sent her out there, and she stayed with them and found a place. And the first time I saw the house is when we drove up and pulled up when we moved there.
Wow. So you didn't even get to make a decision on the place. It was just like, oh, this is where we're living.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, she had said, hey, this house has this, that, and the third, and all this type of stuff. And honestly, I was just happy to be out of the city of Detroit because we had residency at the time. So we had to live there. But me, growing up in Detroit, I didn't really know any different. I know when I went away to college and it was a smaller town, I'm like, you leave your keys in the car unlocked? In Detroit, you had to take your good car and park it in the garage and put the club on there, the steering wheel lock and alarm, and deadbolt your garage door and park a shitty car in front of that. And you still come out and your car is gone. So it was just a little bit of culture shock to me. But, you become a product of your environment. So at least in Detroit, I knew what I was getting myself into.
So and obviously you went to Phoenix or went to Arizona, and it led you to Afghanistan or something.
Yeah, how'd you end up in Afghanistan?
Yes. Anything I've done, I've always tried to go to the top echelon of whatever I've done in life. And after 9/11, this is a common question I get: what is DEA doing in Afghanistan? And after 9/11, when the U.S. military went over there, they soon found out that the Taliban was using the production and sale of heroin to fund their legal terror activities. And a lot of people don't know that Afghanistan is the largest heroin producer in the world.
Wow.
Yep.
So that's not the military's forte. So they called upon the DEA, which were the premier drug law enforcement agency in the United States, for help. Now, at the time, we didn't have a team. We had one in the past that could go in a kind of combat area where you had to do all the things that military soldiers had to do. You have to be able to shoot, move, and communicate with them at a high level and provide, we were more of a liaison with the Afghans over there. I had a partner for us to dismantle these drug labs and take away their money. But we had to operate with our U.S. Special Forces along with different coalition country special forces. So DEA formed a team, which was called the FAST team, Foreign Deployed Advisory and Support Team. So they soon realized, hey, there's a lot of agents in the past that may have been there, done that on various military units and this and that, but can they still physically do that? So they institute a selection, which was made up of various military special forces selections, where they test you in, various skills, shooting, entry tactics, along with physical capabilities, also being able to think on your feet, get along with others, the whole kind of kit and caboodle. And they put you through a selection. And like the first week, you're just being tested on different things. And you have different events. You have tier 1 events, which is pass fail. If you fail one tier 1 event, you're gone. And then they had tier 2 events, which if you failed one, you're kind of put on double secret probation, we'll say. And if you failed 2, you can be removed. And you basically just got pounded for a week of test after test after test. You're not getting much sleep, and they're just beating the crap out of you, but you're fairly well fed, and you try to make it through that. And if you make it through that, members of the team will give you the thumbs up or thumbs down if you go on to the next phase of the selection, which is a training phase, which is usually run by either most people know them as U.S. Green Berets. They're actually called ODAs, Operation Detachment Alphas, or Navy SEAL team, and they do advanced training. Just to kind of paint the picture of what this washout rate is of the selection. Now, when I went through, I was no young man. I was 39 years old. Now, I knew that I wouldn't quit anything, but I was worried at that age, we kind of don't recover like we used to, being injured failing one of the different events. We started I think with 48 people in our selection class, and 11 made it to the end.
Oh, wow. And you were one of the 11, apparently.
Yes. So, I would say, because I was older, it was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. But when you do something like that, you make it through, and you're just struggling, and you're just scratching, crawling, gouging, whatever you do to make it through. And kind of one of those things, I don't know if I can make it, just telling yourself, just take one more step, take each event at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself and try to think too far in advance. You have a great sense of accomplishment. And I remember after that first week, I flew back to Phoenix. We had a little break in between, and my girlfriend at the time picked me up from the airport, and she was like, "What the hell happened to you?" I was beat to shit. I pretty much lost every toenail on both feet.
Oh,
I had a blister on every part of my foot. I had to go to the emergency room the next day because my foot was infected. And I was just beat to hell. And I'm sitting in the emergency room and trying to tell them, kind of what happened to me. And I'm sure we're pretty much sure you're lying. Like, what really happened to you? What did you really go through? So it was
you're making it up. I'm in the DEA,
it was kind of crazy. Do we need to call the police? Is there some kind of domestic violence going on here or something?
Well, that's my question. How'd you get all the toenails removed off your feet, man?
Well, they fell off. Because when all the pounding and ruck marching and everything else, you develop kind of like blisters under your toenails, and
wow.
they lose the blood flow and they fall off. And luckily they grew back now. So it grew back shortly afterwards. Yeah, I was just a wreck.
Wow.
So, excuse me. So let's jump ahead and a little bit here, though, because apparently, like you got obviously went through all that and got into this, and then something happened. A situation happened which caused you to lose your vision, like completely. Correct? Like you have no vision whatsoever.
No, not necessarily. My right eye, no. My left eye, I have light perception.
Okay, but no actual contours, or it's just like a.
No, a little bit. I'm like on an eye chart on a good day. Legally blind is anything 2200 or worse on an eye chart. On my left eye, which is the eye that sees light perception, I'm 2400 to 2500. On a good day, I'm 2400. So I can see light, I can see movement, I can see some shapes. If there's a big contrast between light and dark, I can't make out any faces or anything. If the letter's big enough, I can kind of see it. So it provides me with a little usable vision, but that's it.
So how did
so let's go.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to the same question. Is like, so what exactly happened? What situation caused this? Like, obviously, you got into, specific.
You made it through the training, and now you're ready to whoop ass. So, and I know in the other interview you said that you were pretty much every time it was a percentage you gave that there was a firefight. You guys were using weapons and stuff and blowing shit up.
Well, yeah, I'll kind of paint the picture. On my 2 tours, I did a tour in 2010, and each tour lasts approximately 120 days. And then my tour in 2011, which I got shot, I was on, I would say approximately at least 30 missions. And there's only 5 times where I did not have to fire my weapon.
Holy shit. Wow.
Because
so it's dangerous.
Yes. The issue is that these labs are well behind enemy lines, and this is their money. This is how they get their funding for their terror activities. They call it a narco-terror nexus. They're going to fight like hell to keep that.
Yes, this is their most prized possession.
Yes. Without the money, they can't do shit. So, yeah, it was, I know I was over there, and this is a total volunteer unit. And I remember the first time thinking I was over there, and there's bullets flying by my head, and you can hear bullets when they fly close to you. I'm like, Joe, what the hell did you get yourself in? You volunteered for this shit?
Right. Like, this is what you want to do when you grow up.
And I kind of describe it as, you're at an amusement park and you ride the biggest, baddest roller coaster or ride, and you're scared as hell, and you're kind of waiting to get off of it. And then when you're done, it's like, okay, when are we going to do it again? Type of mentality. And I remember coming in. Yes. And I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. And it's like, who wouldn't want to do this? Well, a lot of people, but me, I didn't have great decision making, I guess, to begin with before I got my brain injury. So I was over there. I remember calling guys back in Phoenix and gals that I worked with when I got back from my first tour, saying that, hey, I did this, that, and the other. And they're like, you're lying. I'm like, I wish I was. And I never thought in a million years as a D agent that I would be doing the stuff I was doing over there, but it kind of was a perfect storm because we were in a country we're at war with, and they had this, this drug tie. So it was kind of crazy.
Wow. So talk about the firefight, where that happened, where that you lost your vision, because it's wild. You went into the whole story of the interview I originally heard.
Yes. It happened on Halloween day of 2011. It happened in the Paik Bazaar in the Helmand province in Afghanistan. And these bazaars are kind of like outdoor flea markets they have there. It kind of looks like a storage, kind of like storage facility places we have in the United States, but they're mud huts with like rolling doors and gates. And they sell anything from, like batteries, shampoo, live chickens, but to include chemicals and equipment to manufacture heroin, along with small arms, machine guns, rifles, and bomb making material. So this Paik Bazaar showed up hot on the radar that they were doing these type of things again. Our team that was there before us, they hit the same bazaar and got in a pretty gnarly firefight. And the team leader at the time, Brett Hamilton, who went through selection with me, we were the two oldest guys in selection. They were trying to leave the mission. They were fighting their way back to the helicopters, and he got, I call the Forrest Gump wound, where a bee jumped up and stung him. He got shot in the buttocks.
Wow.
So Paik Bazaar comes up hot again, and we know that we're going to probably meet some pretty heavy resistance. So predominantly what we would like to do over there is go at night, because we own the night, is with our technology of night vision goggles and lasers on our weapons that we can see through our night vision, and the enemy doesn't really have that. We want to hit it at night. But the problem was we couldn't find an air wing unit that could fly at night when we needed to raid this bazaar with at the time we were working with the Australian Commandos, which is a special forces unit out of Australia, which is very good. And with our partner force that we were working with. So we had to go during the day. So we weren't really keen on that, but we're going to go. So the plan was we were going to hit this early morning hours of October 31st, 2011, just after first light. We're going to fly in with 4 Russian helicopters, the troop transport helicopters. They're called Mi-17s. They're a pretty robust helicopter, and we're going to raid this bazaar. And the plan was the Australians with their partner force, they're going to come in and provide an outer perimeter around the bazaar to try to keep the insurgents from moving in on us. And we were going to come in our helicopters with our partner force, and we were going to search the bazaar itself. So we land. Everything is going according to plan. The bazaar is empty, which we wanted. Then you have to deal with additional bodies on the ground. And shortly after we land, we start receiving incoming gunfire. Very inaccurate. We start searching. I'm in charge of one group, searching one side of the bazaar, and we're starting to find poppy seed, which is the seed to grow the poppy plant, which they get the opium from to make the heroin. And I'm standing outside of one of the stalls in the bazaar, and there's a kind of beat up old car behind me, and I hear a shot fired, and I hear the bullet hit the car behind me. And then I feel the back of my neck burn. I'm like, oh shit. So I dive into the bazaar stall, which our Afghan counterparts were in. And I put my hand on the back of my neck to see if I have any blood. I didn't see anything on my glove. And I had one of the Afghans that could speak some English look at my neck, and he said it was okay. But the bullet got so close to my neck that I could feel the heat of the bullet basically burn the back of my neck. So
you weren't shot. You just felt the
yeah,
impact.
It was so close to me. Yes.
Wow.
So that kind of got my attention, we'll say. So shortly after that, we could hear the Australians get into it with the insurgents, and we had close air support via helicopters from the Marine Air Wing. We heard them getting into it. And then they had this like loudspeaker system in the bazaar, and one of the leaders of the insurgents gets on there, and kind of they do their call to arms. today is your day to die. We must rid the infidels out of our land. We must drive them up. We must rise up.
And this was in English, right? They said this in English?
No, it was in Afghani. They speak two languages, Pashto or Dari, depending on what part of the country you're in. Our translator was telling us what they were saying.
Okay, I was wondering how you guys knew. Yeah.
Yes, we usually have a couple translators with us. They're called Foreign Service Nationals. And so the incoming gunfire drastically picks up on us. So we really hear our Australians and our close air support get into it with them. So now we usually, these raids and things, we usually seize a lot of things. So we can't take everything with us. So what we do is we take photographs, representative samples, and then we destroy everything else on scene. So we're in the process of doing this, and we're almost finished. So we need to call our helicopters to come pick us back up. So the helicopters come inbound to come pick us back up, and we're trying to make our way to get in our positions to set up to leave on helicopters, which is only about 400 meters away. It's not that far, and our helicopters are inbound, and then we get bogged into the firefight, caught in the firefight. So we can't make it to our, they call them exfiltration positions or exfil positions, to meet the helicopters. So we have to wave them off. So I'm like, oh shit. And I know the longer we stay on the ground, the more time the enemy has to amass on us. We had a decent number of people out there, but we only can sustain ourselves for so long.
Right.
So we finally get in position. 4 helicopters are coming in, and one of the helicopters that was taking our Afghans was designated for a certain one. 3 land. The 4th one doesn't land. That's the one that was taking our Afghans. So instead of them waiting for that helicopter to land, and the reason it didn't land, it was Afghan pilots that were in training, and they had one British pilot with them to kind of guide them. They didn't feel comfortable landing with all the incoming gunfire, and it was small arms to include belt-fed machine gun. And with the helicopters coming in with that dusty condition, it creates a brownout, which when all the dust kicks in the air, it's hard to see. So it doesn't land. So they run over and get on the next nearest helicopter, which was the helicopters that was taking our fast team members and a couple of the Australian commandos. So these helicopters land in open field. We're getting shot at. And we run out the helicopters, and the Afghanis are in our helicopter, and they're not getting out. And I don't blame them, because I wouldn't want to go back into that hellstorm.
Right.
So, we don't want to get shot in the open as sitting ducks. We just tell them, okay, leave, take off. So you have us remaining fast team members and 2 Australians. The 3 helicopters take off, and we're the only ones left. So guess who the fire is focused on now? Us.
You guys, yep.
So we take cover in a ditch, and then here comes the lone Afghan helicopter and lands. Only about 100 meters away or so, but we're getting shot at, and of course my heart is racing, and I'm like, oh shit. We have to get up and run through this hellstorm of bullets. I said, it's going to be a shitty run, but we can't stay here. We got to get the hell out. So we get up and start running for our lives towards this helicopter. Now, I remember firing a couple shots on the run towards the direction that the insurgents were shooting at us from. And everything after this is going to be secondhand information that was told to me by my teammates. I guess I got to the helicopter about mid-pack. I paused, and I started laying down, covering fire, trying to engage targets while the rest of my team got on or near the helicopter, trying to protect them. I don't remember this, but that's kind of something I would do knowing me. So once all my teammates got on or near the helicopter, my team leader, Jared Johnson, taps me and said, let's go. And I guess I turned left to run onto the helicopter. That's when I was struck in the head, which we believe was a armor-piercing bullet from a PKM belt-fed machine gun. It's kind of like a Russian medium-weight machine gun. And I fall to the ground face first. My teammates, thinking that I kind of tripped and fell, but talking to them afterwards, they noticed I didn't put my hands up to brace my fall. So my team leader gets over to me first, and I'm face down in the ground, and I'm not moving. He rolls me over, and he basically sees like the protective glasses I was wearing were shattered, and he saw a bullet hole in my head. So they're thinking I'm dead. So they scoop me up, throw me on the back of the helicopter, and take off. Now, they're thinking I'm dead, but one of my teammates, Justin Vanderbilt, was a EMT before DEA, and he was down in Louisiana during Katrina. And we were fortunate to be highly trained in combat medicine. And he decides you can't hear when these helicopters too loud. So he decides he's just going to double check and see if I'm breathing at all. So they start cutting my gear off. He puts his hand on my chest, and lo and behold, I'm breathing. He's like, guys, he's alive. So they begin to work on me. I have a through and through gunshot wound through my head. The bullet entered my helmet near my right temple. The bullet went through my right temple, through the frontal lobe of my brain, and exited my left temple. And a lot of people ask me, oh, you just got one of those head wounds where the bullet kind of hits and skirts around your skull. I'm like, no, it went straight through my head.
Right.
So they put what's called combat gauze. It's gauze with clotting agent on my head. And that gets the bleeding stopped. And usually with some facial or some head injuries where you want to try to get a better airway, one of the instruments you can use is called a nasopharyngeal airway, which is a tube, probably a flexible tube, about 3 inches or so long. Like one end looks like it has a funnel on it. And you stick it in the patient's nose, and it goes down their sinus cavity, and it helps to establish a better airway for the patient to breathe. Now, in training, we have to put them in on each other. We use like Novocaine to kind of deaden it. It still sucks getting these things shoved up your nose. Or if we're training with the Navy SEALs, we can spit on it and shove it up each other's nose.
Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, real sanitary and everything.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hate these things. I guess I came to when they shoved it up my nose.
So you felt this going on. Oh wow.
I guess subconsciously, I don't remember any of this. So I come to, and I guess I was talking, making sense. I knew where I was. Recognized my teammates' voices, and I wasn't complaining about my head, even though I had a hole on each side. I said, get it out of my eyes. The bullet didn't hit my eyes, but the pressure of the high velocity round going through my head ruptured both eye globes and detached both retinas.
Oh shit.
So one of my partners poured saline solution on my eyes, but it didn't do jack crap.
Wow.
And I was complaining that I have to move my left leg. With all this incoming gunfire, they thought I was shot in the leg also. But it would happen, I had a suppressor on my rifle, and I had been shooting quite a bit, and those things get red hot. And when I got shot and knocked unconscious, I'd laid on my rifle, and it burned inside my knee real bad.
Oh wow. So that's a rifle burn that you got.
Yes. And so they got me stabilized and flew me to the base we were staying at Tarrant Count, which had a medical facility there. It was decent, and they did what they can do for me, and they later flew me to a better medical facility in Kandahar Airfield. And a kind of just a funny note, when we landed at the base we were staying at, Tarrant Count, the ambulance came out to meet us, and the ambulance didn't come to the helicopter with a stretcher. They thought my teammates had me on a stretcher. We had them, but I was still just like laying on the floor. So I hear this commotion. So I stand up to walk off the helicopter, shot through the head.
Oh, shit.
So my teammates were like, no, Joe, we got you. So they carried me and throw me in the ambulance and then take me to the medical facility there, where they put me unconscious, and they do what they can. And then they flew me on a medevac helicopter with one of my partners, Matt Stewart, to Kandahar Airfield, which had a neurosurgeon and eye surgeon standing by to meet me. So, some factors played into me surviving. One, I want to give grace and glory to God, because over 80% of the people who get my injury do not survive.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my time to go. I didn't see any bright lights, and, like with some people who
they tell you they saw a light and a voice told them it's not time, or some crazy shit.
Or, come this way, go towards the light. And, I
Right.
didn't see any of that. So, and I had strong faith in the Lord, and I would always carry the St. Michael's medallion on me, which is a patron saint to protect law enforcement officers, that I got when I became a police officer. I carried a dog tag from my grandfather from World War II on my person, and I would say Psalm 91 prayer, and carried a copy on me, which is a prayer for soldiers going into battle for the Lord to protect them. And even though I should have been dead on that field in Afghanistan, the Lord had more for me to do in this world. So that was one thing. My team had very good medical training, so they stalled my decompensation. And another thing is, I was in really good shape when I got shot. In the better condition you're in, it leads to you being able to survive, a better chance of surviving a more traumatic incident, and helps with the recovery. And it was Halloween Day, so not many people were out doing missions, and the medical facility didn't have a lot of traumas coming into it. So when they brought me in to Kandahar Airfield, to the hospital there, I was they had begun to keep me alive with basic life-saving techniques. And they took a look at me, and they first thought they couldn't do anything to save me. They were just going to have me pass peacefully and send me home in a box on what they call an angel flight. That's the flights bringing deceased soldiers back to the United States. But the trauma surgeon looked at me and saw I was in good shape, talked to my teammate that was there with me, and, told me how I came to and stood up to get off the helicopter. And he did an assessment, and he thought that if he stopped the bleeding in my head, which was leading to increased pressure in my head, he felt strongly that he could at least get me home to the States alive. Didn't know what condition I was going to be in, if, as far as mental faculties and things like that, and even being able to function. So he had to talk the command into doing surgery on me. And I guess in these type of hospitals, there's like a line on the floor. And once the patient's gurney is pushed over that line, the surgeons have to see the patient. So this other nurse, Lynn Blankenbecker, that was charge of my intake there, she hears all this commotion. So I found this after the fact, at my retirement party in 2019, she pushed me over that line.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, they have to see me now. So the neurosurgeon worked on me for approximately 4.5 to 5 hours, getting my head cleaned up and getting the bleeding stopped and everything cleaned out. He removed my skull cap, which is the whole frontal cranial piece of my head. It was pretty messed up, and put a device in there to check the pressure and drain as pressure built up. And then they brought the eye surgeon to try to piece my eyes back together. And the eye surgeon came in and she's like, is he really survivable? Am I going to waste a bunch of time and effort on a patient who's not going to survive? So she began to work on me and basically pieced my eyes back together with a microscope. And that took approximately 8 hours. Now, hearing the neurosurgeon talk, I look like a mess. I look like Frankenstein, but she did a wonderful job. And that's why the work she did, that's why I have a little bit of sight in my left eye. And there's talk about restoring more sight in the future with stem cell and things like that. So I stayed there. And the next day I flew home on a medical, en route to home on a medical flight with one of my good friends on the team, Travis Brooks. We stopped in Lahnstuhl, Germany. They have a medical facility there, and the pressure in my head was rising. So I spent, I think, 3 nights there. Then they flew me on a medical flight en route to the United States, to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. And from there, they're going to take me to Walter Reed National Naval Medical Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland. So during this time, DEA was informing my family. So I was engaged at the time, and I told my fiance, if you can't get a hold of me, I am out on a mission, and when I get back, I'll Skype with you or, call you or text you. I said, you don't need to worry if a couple people come to the door. So she was a intensive care nurse. She worked nights. In Afghanistan, it's approximately 9.5 hours ahead of us. So she got home from work and was laying down, and she hears a knock at the door. She goes downstairs, and there's 2 gentlemen that are standing there that she doesn't know. So she opens the door, and they show their badges through the window, and she starts to lose it. And they're like, he's alive. He's not dead yet. He's in surgery. We don't know what's going to happen. So they rustle all my family together and have them there to meet me when I arrive in the United States.
Wow. Oh, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry.
No
Need
worries.
a second? You need a second, man?
No, I'm good. I just
Okay.
didn't know if you guys wanted to ask anything or.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
no, we're just totally riveted here. What did you guys say, cruise control?
Well, I was just gonna say, so during this time, you were not really conscious. You were pretty much.
Yes, I do not remember any of this,
Right.
even to this
Okay.
day.
Wow. The story is riveting, man. Sorry, I was getting lost in the story, and I'm like, oh, what happened?
No worries. I was kind of just doing a little pregnant pause there to see if you had anything, kind of like, a technique when you testify, make sure that the prosecutor doesn't want to say anything,
Right. Oh, we'll just cut you off. We're assholes.
Oh yeah. Well, but it's just a start because you had no idea what was going on at this time. You're completely
No,
oblivious. and then
not at all.
so you obviously made it through. What was when you did become more conscious and more aware? What was the thought of? Because I don't know if I think you might know this. Obviously, I'm visually impaired. I'm legally blind, very legally blind. While Maxwell is completely blind. So I'm just kind of curious, what was your thought process when you came to?
Right. You're going to be blind now. How'd that work?
And you realized that
it was kind of crazy because once I got back to the States, they did some more surgery on me. And they put me in induced coma. They had me on that propofol, that Michael Jackson drug that unfortunately killed Michael. You know, it's great to put somebody in a coma as they can reverse it real quick, but it's not so great to use it for sleep. So they brought me out of that, and that's the first memory I had. And I just kept thinking to myself, I didn't ask about being blind or anything, and kind of knew I couldn't see. And I just kept running over my head. I thought I had made it through that mission, but I just kept running through my head. I don't remember planning another mission. But that's when my teammates told me I got hurt on that mission. And even though I didn't know, I wasn't awake when I was in Germany, I kept having this dream that I was with my partner, Travis, and they had put us on this old German Nazi World War II bomber. And they wanted Travis to fly. And I'm like, he can't fly. He doesn't know about flying. And they want me to work this machine gun on the plane. I said, I know how to work a machine gun, but I don't know how to work this on here. I don't know how to work all these levers and this and that. And they kept having this dream about a Nazi bomber. So subconsciously, I guess I knew I was in Germany, you know, I don't know. It was just crazy. And when they brought me out of the coma, even though I was talking, speaking, and making sense in the helicopter with the additional surgeries and things and different, more trauma to the brain, they didn't know how I was going to be when they brought me out of the coma, whether I can even talk, would I have my same personality, right, things of that nature. But they soon learned that I was the same smart ass Joe I was before, before I got injured and was my frontal brain lobe injury. They told that's kind of your decision making and things like that.
I was going to say that controls your impulses, right? Like,
your impulses and decision making. So they told my my parents and my teammates I could never be trusted with a credit card again. I just would spend a bunch of money. I might be at work and just take all my clothes off. My mom was like, well, he didn't make good decisions anyways. He's not going to lose much. Like,
this ain't nothing new.
Mom, thanks for the vote of encouragement here,
Yeah, seriously. Oh, wow. What's different now?
So then, that's when things start to sink in. Okay, I can't see. And I had to start from ground one. They had me on a feeding tube and things of that nature. And I was on a ventilator, so I couldn't eat at first. So I had to do these swallow studies and pass them before I could start having a solid diet. And I just do like small tasks. Today is, okay, Joe, you're going to put on your shorts and t-shirt. How long is it going to take you to do? And I said, this long, and kind of a funny story. And then one day I'm sitting there with my fiance and one of the physical therapy ladies, and I'm putting my shorts and t-shirt on, and I'm holding these shorts, and like, even though I'm blind as a bat, I'm like, these don't feel like my size. And I asked my fiance, okay, what size are these shorts? And she's sitting there quiet as a church mouse. And the therapist grabs them. I'll tell you. And she's like, they're a medium. And I took these shorts and chucked them across the room. I said, I'm a big fella. I wear extra large. If I would have put those extra large on, and they would have fell straight to the floor. When I got shot, I was.
So you lost a shitload of weight.
230 pounds. And I guess, they weigh you on your bed in the hospital. And my ex-fiance wouldn't let them tell me what I weighed, knew I'd throw a hissy fit. I was down like 180 something pounds. Like I said, those shorts would have went straight to my ankles, and I'd have been naked as a jaybird there.
That would have fucked you up, man. All of a sudden you're like, why don't my shorts fit?
Yeah.
What happened to me?
Exactly. So that's why my ex was like as quiet as a church mouse. So, just stuff like that. And there was 3 days I was kind of confused, and I thought I was African-American.
Oh, what?
Yes. Yeah, I was talking and acting like that, and my eye surgeon there came in, Dr. Chan, and he's, a very serious man. And my dad and my partner, Travis, are sitting in there with me, and Travis says, Dr. Chung, I'm sorry, his name's Dr. Chung. Says, Dr. Chung, Joe thinks he's black. And Dr. Chung goes, really? And Dr. Chung starts laughing. And then my dad's over there, well, he is from Detroit.
They're not helping you out much, are they, man?
No, par for the course, right?
Right.
So Joe, you so obviously you got through this experience. You've recovered, but you haven't recovered vision. We have a lot of people who watch our show who are visually impaired, and a lot of them may have had that visual impairment happen when they, after, like a lot of people are born this way. Like I'm born with my visual impairment,
and I was born blind, as I told you. So
yeah, right. But there are those like yourself who have had drastic decreases in eyesight. So it might help a lot of these people that might listen to our show or listen to our show to know like, how the hell do you not like just give up? Because we've seen so many people who have gotten just massive eyesight issues, just completely just give in and get taken care of, and they don't do anything themselves, while you obviously have done more for yourself after losing your eyesight, or at least have accomplished some things yourself. So how did that happen to you? Like, for you?
That's an excellent question, and kind of how it started. Well, one, I've always been very determined, never quit anything in my life. I was, even though I was talented in some things, but I got by on hard work. Just how I was kind of raised. Now, when I was sitting in the hospital in my bed and hearing my teammates and my family talk about all these young service members coming back home, just really tore up. When this happened to me, I was older. I was in my early 40s. My daughter was getting ready to graduate high school. And when I would start having my pity parties, why me, woe is me, getting angry and things like that, I would think, Joe, you lived a pretty good damn life so far. You got these young kids, some never been married yet. Maybe some just got married, and maybe some have kids, maybe some don't, or maybe some young kids. And I was just thinking to myself, Joe, it could always be worse. I didn't know what I was going to be able to do with my life, but I made a commitment at that point that I was going to try to do as much blind as when I could see. Now, I would lie if I told you it was easy. It's never easy. And as you guys know, look, things are a struggle every day. Every day.
Well, for you especially, because you're getting used to doing these same things as a blind dude now. You know what I mean?
And that's the dichotomy. It's like with Max here, he doesn't have any reference point. His life is blind. Like, he would have more problems if he could see than if he couldn't see. With me, I'm kind of in the middle because I've been like massively visually impaired. I'm legally blind in one eye. I can't see it at all, and in my other eye, and I'm 2200, 2400 vision, but I get along myself because I'm so used to it. But when someone is used to having pinpoint vision and then just all of a sudden, loses that, it can just absolutely destroy someone, and it didn't destroy you. And that's kind of like the,
oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. No, exactly. And, I don't want to make anybody feel bad or something, like Max, he was born blind. I think me having eyesight before helped me because I knew how things worked. Like, if I pick some up or touch it, I know what it is.
Well, you know what's funny? And I think the opposite way. I'm like, man, these people that go blind, fuck, they're really having some issues, because this is just how I live. I don't know any different. So it's interesting the separate ways of thinking.
Yeah, it is, okay, this is, this is this object and this how it should work, or this is this or this is that. And now I can't, I describe it, if there's a will, there's a way. I can't do things like I used to. I can't do things as fast as I used to, because when you rush around by and you're trying to go fast, you know what happens? You crack your head on the wall or the door frame, and then you have to go get stitches. And that's happened several times.
I don't know, man. I swoop around here pretty good, man. But that's just.
But your fast compared to a sighted person's fast is completely different.
See, this is great.
Like you're fast going around like, oh, because you are memorizing things instinctively because you have no concept of sight.
Right.
Now, his advantage though, I don't mean to speak for I apologize, but I think your advantage, Joe, is that you have the concept of sight. So when you feel a knife, you can visualize a knife in your head still, right?
Yes.
Yes. See, so you understand exactly where you are on the knife. Okay. So it's interesting to think about that how because a lot of people who lose their vision do not rely on their previous sight to help them with their vision. They just simply I can't see, I can't do anything. And I think that's that's where I'm coming from. It's like what do you think is the motivator behind you not becoming the guy who goes and sits at the blind center and makes
the blind center guy? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And basket weaves. You're not basket weaving, dude.
Piano tuning or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. And the thing is that when I talk to people, unfortunately in life, a lot of bad things are going to happen to us. It's just life. It's like when you climb one mountain, you get knocked down and you got to climb another one. It's the same thing when bad things happen. You can make a couple choices. You can sit in the corner and let life pass you by, or you can get out there and do as much as you can do. And I made that commitment to get out there and do as much as I could do. Like I said, it's not been easy. And I'm kind of very stubborn and I don't quit. And I kind of look at it, where, okay, I want to do this. It's not how I used to do it, but if there's a will, there's a way. You'll figure it out. And that's what I've kind of did, and I've gone through bouts of depression and I've been suicidal at times, and I dealt with all that, and the thing that sucked for me is before I was a type A personality.
So
I'll just do it. I don't rely on anybody. I'm just going to do it. And this is how I'm going to do it. And if I just want to go work out, I'm going to go work out. If I want to get in a car and drive, I'm just going to go and drive. But now I can't do that. I need help, and I have to ask for help. And it probably did me some damn good because I had to trust people and ask for help.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. If you've never had to do that before, that's got to be, wow.
And that's my point.
I was scared to death, and especially in public. When I was used to my training and experience, I go in a public place. It's like, okay, I look around, and I know you're not supposed to profile. It's like who looks shady, who doesn't.
Right.
Where are the exits? Where are the entrances? Where, if something happens, where can I take cover and or concealment? And
or even a simple thing like for someone like me who's visually impaired, like I can see when someone's looking my way. That's why the masks are so awful for me. Like I can see when someone's staring in my direction, so I can go, why is he staring at me? Even that subtle thing like that, when you lose that and you've had that your whole life and you relied on that for your, like I couldn't imagine losing my vision that I have. Like that's because when you have vision, you rely on it. It's just it's hard to explain, Max.
And that's where trust had to come in. I had to learn to trust the people. And at first, what sounds, either they were seen farther or closer than they were. I got a better sense of now, how close something is, because my hearing is my main sense now. I lost most of my taste and smell when I was
what? And let's do this, man, because I hear this bullshit all the time. People will say, So because you're blind, your senses are stronger. No, man, you learn to hone that skill of finding where things are and how close people are or how far they are, right? This is the thing you had to kind of work on, right?
Well, yeah, in blind school, I went to blind school in Hines, Illinois, at the VA there, for like 3 months. And one of the classes we have is, a lot of people never been around blind people, and their conception of a blind person is somebody that wears the dark black glasses and has a cane. And a lot of people think because you can't see, you can't hear either. So they talk very loud to you. It's like, I can't see a lick, but I can hear really well, and you don't have to shout at me.
Shut the fuck up! You're blowing my eardrums, man. Yeah.
So that's just one of the things that kind of
I wonder if some of this is your survival instinct that you got from your DEA training that you went through. If you hadn't done that, if it was just something where you were some guy that took too many aspirin one day and had that, what do they call it, Steven Johnson syndrome or something, and went blind, if it would have been different. You know what I mean? Like your training might have been what sort of helped you get that survivalist mentality. Like, I can't just lay here. I gotta move. I gotta do things.
I think it even goes farther back than that. I think it goes back to a lot is genetic, how a person is, how you were raised. I was fortunate to have good role models with my father and my grandfather. And in fact, my dad's dad, he was a soldier in World War II, and he landed on Omaha Beach on D-Day in the second wave. And, he later got wounded in France moving through, and he got the Silver Star in World War II. And, going through and playing sports and different things, and, learning how to get knocked on your ass and get back up, and going through life. And, before this thing where everybody gets the damn trophy, having to work for things, and was, raised where, you try your best, you work hard, things will hopefully go your way. And if they didn't, you need to sit back and think, what can I do better? How can I improve this? So a lot of those factors, of course, along with my, my military training. And that's one of the reasons that our selection was so tough. They want to see what you're going to do when you fail at something. Because going through those you're going to fail at something.
Right.
Now, when you fail, are you just going to curl up in a fetal position, or are you going to try to do some damn thing?
So succeeding isn't what you want to do, really. It's they want to see you fail because they want to
see you fail and see how you handle it.
Yes.
Are you just going to quit and say fuck it? And and a lot of people in my position, went, go to using drugs and alcohol, to try to cope, and I used other things. I used, say my bodybuilding.
Exactly. So let's go into that. Actually, this is
how did you get into that?
Go into. Yeah. So you basically channeled your energy, like you said. Oh, listen, I can't see the way I used to, which obviously is going to be a major just blow to anybody's psyche. I don't give a damn who you are. It'd be like, Max, if you lost your hearing, you.
Yeah. Well, listen, I understand that's some traumatic shit,
right?
For sure.
Exactly. So what you did was you went into bodybuilding, and why is bodybuilding? Why bodybuilding? Is it because of you can feel your own body? Is it a physical thing, or is it just because you?
And that's a good question. Like, after college, I wanted to be something competitive. I wasn't quite big enough to play pro football, even though I was in college. I was, two-time all league player, team MVP, team captain twice, and all that whole 9 yards. I knew I wasn't going to be the tallest, so I started lifting weights because I'm not going to be tall. I need to be big and strong. And my body blew up when I touched the weight. So after college, I want to do something where I can still be competitive. And I did my first bodybuilding show, and 1993 and won. And I hadn't competed. After that, I joined the police department. I still worked out and lifted and stayed in good shape. And when I was in Arizona in 2007, I was just like, I was training with a guy and I'm like, let me see if I can still do this. And this is, of course, had full sight still. And I did the Arizona State Bodybuilding Championship and won everything. And after that, I joined the fast team, and I couldn't be as bulky, but I was still a pretty big guy compared to most. So we had to do a lot of endurance stuff. And after I got shot, I started working out again. And even though I lost all that weight, I got it back pretty fast. Muscle memory is a hell of a thing. So in 2015, my fiance, we got married, we're divorced now, was into competing in women's kind of physique type thing. And she had a coach that was from Detroit. Even though we weren't living in Detroit, we'd come visit him during the holidays and things. And I worked out with him, and he's like, Joe, you need to compete again. And I'm like, his name was Shelby Starnes. I'm like, Shelby, I just don't know. I'm scared to death. I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And he's just like, you know what? Let's just put you on a diet, a cutting diet, have you lean up, and we'll see what you look like. And we did this, and he's like, oh no, Joe, you need to get back out there again. And I was like, are you sure? So we did the whole pre-contest diet thing and everything. And, even though we didn't live in the same area, but a lot of the things you do now, and I do it now with the coach, you do everything with pictures and videos and questionnaires, and you on the phone. And
Oh, yeah.
the coach will adjust, hey, we want you doing this workout or this much more cardio, take this supplements, and would basically tell you what to eat every meal. And thank goodness for talking food scales and body weight scales, because they kind of help out.
Right.
And there's a lot, as you guys know, there's a lot of great technology for blind people nowadays.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I went on stage and I did this Grand Prix show in NPC, National Physique Committee show in Virginia. And I did the Masters, which is all the old people, we can say 35 and over from to go. And I did the Open with all ages, and I won everything.
Damn.
And I remember being backstage crying. When I was in the hospital, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And I was just crying, thinking back. I'm like, Joe, you did it. You still can do this. And it just gave me, I've always been competitive and always look to do something and something to occupy me and, get a sense of fulfillment in things. So I was just like, wow, you did this. So, so that led me on to, to continue doing competitions. And this past July, I finally turned pro in men's masters bodybuilding. It was in the 50 to 59-year-old age category in the super heavyweight class, which is anybody over 225 pounds. And I had to win my class and place second in overall, which I did. And I told my buddy who helped me, who was a pro, I said, Dave, if I turn pro, I'm going to cry like a little girl. So I did it and beat everybody in my class. And they give you this like life-size, huge pro card, like people get those big, huge checks,
Right.
supersized checks and, your trophy and everything. And I remember going backstage and walking backstage. Now you got to remember in bodybuilding, you got all these people with egos and all this crap. That's one thing I don't like about it. And they stand up and start clapping for me. And I start the ball. My buddy David starts the ball. And at that point, I became the first blind IFBB men's pro bodybuilder in history, and the NPC and IFBB, that's like Division I in bodybuilding. That's top tier. And a lot of people think when I compete against other people with disabilities, and no, I'm the only blind one out there.
Right. Everyone else is sighted.
They're recited, you know, and you know,
Well,
I just,
but it's kind of funny. It's like I sort of interrupt you, but it's kind of funny. Like, well, wow, this guy's the first blind bodybuilder. Like, how does that affect your bodybuilding? If you're blind, it doesn't affect your ability to lift weights and to, you know, sculpt your body. You know, like, it doesn't affect that. Like,
That's true.
like,
You don't
like,
need vision to lift weights. Yeah, that's true.
You know,
No,
it's like, oh my God, the best blind DJ ever. You know, yeah, they don't need their, you know.
in my coach
almost,
had a saying that me being Joe, I'm blind, but not without vision.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Or as our old friend said, you are a man who happens to be blind.
Not a blind man.
You are not a blind man, just like Max.
Yep.
You're a man who happens to be blind, not a blind man.
Exactly. And then, you know, I've also hunt and shoot blind with special optics, you know, and when I talk, you know, in these groups and events, I'm like, you know, and you're probably thinking, Joe, you got a gun? I don't want to be at 10 miles with you. But
dude, I got a gun. My brother takes me out. We just go shooting. Now you hunt. So this is a whole different part of this. Talk about that a little bit as far as like, how do you know when a bear is coming across the path? Like, it's
you do it one or two ways. And I hunt with a lot of these wounded organizations and groups. And one, we have, I have a hunting rifle, which has this optic on it. We put on, it's basically like a high-speed video camera, and it has its own Bluetooth in it, and it will project to a smartphone or a kind of like iPad or tablet device that has Wi-Fi,
right?
And
voiceover or something on it.
Yeah, it was no voice, no. It's not vocal, so you have to have a partner. And whatever I'm pointing at with the rifle, the person will see on the device, it looks like a scope picture. So all they do is they tell me left, right, up and down, and when I'm on target, when I can shoot. And as long as I don't screw up the shot and jerk the trigger and things like that, I can pretty much hit a high plate target of 300 meters every time.
Okay. So you go with the sighted person to go hunting, obviously.
Yes. Or what we do too, if depending on the area and stuff, we've even just used a rifle with a scope on it. And basically what I do, I just hold the rifle, mount the rifle, and I just move my head to the side, and they look through the scope and they kind of tell me left, right, up and down what I can shoot to. So since I've been blind, I have now killed 5 deer.
Oh shit. You brought them home?
Yes, I've got 2 deer with 1 shot. The blind guy got 2 deer with 1 shot. I had a big buck standing at a feeder, and unbeknownst to us, it's all in video. There was a doe standing behind him. So when I shot, and being blind or visually impaired, you can't see if you hit. So you either wait for damn, you missed, or they're down. And I learned in deer hunting, just because you put an animal down doesn't mean they're going to stay down and not get up and run. So you got to be ready for a follow-up shot. So this particular occasion, I fire, and I'm like, do I need to shoot again? Then I go, no, he's down hard, but we hit something else behind him. So the bullet passed through the buck and hit the doe.
Oh shit! Did you kill the doe?
Yes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. See, with my brother and I, we just go out and shoot, and he's like, "Oh, you hit the target," or so it's just like cans or
And I even did like that where I've had a pistol and somebody just stands behind me and it kind of like puts me in the area. So I've got 5 deer. I went into Louisiana 4 years ago, just outside of New Orleans, and went alligator hunting.
Oh,
now when I was sighted, I used to watch that show called Swamp People, where they call them fishing for gator, where you have to catch these gator on this big treble hook with chicken or some other kind of bait, and you got to pull them up to the boat and you have to shoot them. And I'm like, they're nuts. You would never catch me in a million years doing that shit. So the opportunity comes, Joe, would you like to go gator hunting? And I guess this is where my frontal brain lobe injury kicks in. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I go out there and, you got these like John boats and you got to pull, the gator up and you got to shoot him. In this case, we used a Glock 40 caliber pistol with a laser sight. So you squeeze the thing to activate the laser sight and projects a dot on the animal or target and you shoot them. So I remember we pull up to first two lines, there's nothing on. We pull up to another line, third line, and the guy is like, oh, we got a big one. The gator's on the bank with the chicken down his throat caught in a hook. So he goes, he's a big one. So as we get close, the gator slithers into the water. And so you got to pull this thing up and shoot it. And now on the TV show, they yank the line for TV dramatics and everything, but you really don't want to do that. You want to pull it up slow. You don't want the son of a bitch to fight.
Right. He'll all of a sudden figure out, oh shit, I'm getting pulled up into a boat here.
Yes. So we're starting to pull them and the gator's like under the boat. So you want to wait them out and they have to breathe oxygen. So they can only stay under for so long. So I'm kneeling on this boat with this pistol and I'm like, Joe, what the hell are you doing out here? You can't even see if this gator snaps at you to jump back and eat your arm off. And the local yokels are going to be like, that's what that blind guy deserves.
I got chewed up by gator, or something.
No, he ain't got no business out there hunting anyway. He blind. What the hell he doing out there? So they pull him up, and we shoot him. And it actually takes like 5 total shots to put this gator completely out. We got 4 in him. And I guess we're getting ready to pull it on the boat and the gator opens his eye and the guy shoots him again. And then we got another one. This gator was about 10 foot and we got another one that was a little smaller, but that one put up more of a fight. So that was kind of crazy. And I got an opportunity this year to go to West Virginia and go black bear hunting. So I actually killed a black bear too. They use dogs and they'll chase the bear and they'll tree a bear in a tree. And then you get set up and you shoot the bear out of a tree. So
that is
wow,
awesome, man. So I want to real quick. You said you retired in 2019. So, but you went blind in 2011, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, what were you doing for the DEA that whole time, for that whole, let's say 9 years or whatever?
Well, that's an awesome question because when I got shot, they figured out what I would make taking a medical disability as opposed to retiring as
it's all about money. Yeah.
So they came back and said, Joe, you will do a lot better retiring as a full-blown special agent. Now I'm thinking in my head, well, I'm blind. I can't be an agent
be a special
anymore.
agent, right? Yeah.
I can't medically, pass the eye test anymore.
Right.
But they did an exception for me, and they've done this. I've understand a handful of times for special circumstance people. So even though I couldn't do my job like I used to, they put me in a position which was more of a teaching role, which I would teach these classes in our personal recovery unit, which was in conjunction with our FAST team. That's they
which is actually pretty actually a kind of important thing to do because there are a lot of people that are injured during the heat of conflict, and they need those kind of things.
Yeah, they do need those reminders. Like, dude, you're not invincible, man.
Yes.
I'm helping you out here. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
hey, you be a great government employee, man. You can justify anything.
Yeah, in this personal recovery unit, any agent or like group assistant or admin person going overseas, they go through this class. It's a kind of a mini military survival school where they teach you like land navigation, if you're captured, what to say, how to escape, how to formulate a plan. and they would bring me in there, and I would talk about overcoming adversity and talking about my trials and tribulations and things I did and techniques that I used and different things to deal with my situation. And even like to say, somebody's got you kidnapped or hostage and they got you handcuffed or tied up and you're in the dark, you got to be able to defeat that stuff with no light. And then I could show them I can do it blind with no vision.
Wow.
So, just different things like that. And that kind of led to my speaking thing. So a couple years after I was injured, the DEA had this employees with disabilities, kind of like they had the employees with disability week. And they had at our headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, at our headquarters, they had like some speakers come in and talk. And they asked me, Joe, would you come and talk? I said, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. I'm not great at public speaking. And I was, I took a class in college, but I was scared to death up there. And, I testified in trial and, and gave briefings and stuff like that. But that's kind of a whole different animal. So they wanted me to come in and tell my story. So I got up and told my story. And it's, I guess, I'm like, how am I going to memorize a speech of this? I can't see flashcards. But I just told my story, and it's easy in a way because you're just telling your story. You're just telling the events, and I just talk like I normally talk, and it went over tremendously. So that other people heard about that, and they would invite me to speak at different events. And usually when I speak at one event, I usually get 2 or 3 more events to speak at from that, and I just kind of sharpened and honed that. I went into a career as a public servant. I wanted to help people. So I couldn't do the job like I used to, but I talk at these different events and groups and things. And I've had a couple after action things come back where people that I spoke at these events were saying that I was going to commit suicide. And after they heard me talk, they're like, my life isn't really as bad as I thought it was. And they decided not to do it. And
exactly, because you had the ability to show them that just because you lost something doesn't mean you've lost everything. And you still have things to offer, I think that's
exactly.
Kind of
and just because you're blind, it doesn't mean life ends anymore.
Right. Like blindness equals death or some weird thing.
I want to I think we should probably wrap this up a little bit, but I do want to ask you, like, what would you say to people? Because we do have friends and people who have lost vision when they had perfect vision in their lives, like, because I'm not saying you just went on, like soldiered on. Obviously you had your issues. I mean, you had to have, there's no question you did, like,
but you beat your issues.
But that's the thing, that you're not sitting at a place where, I'm sorry, I don't want to be like a dick to blind centers around the world.
There's a place called the Blind Center out here where pretty much it's like adult daycare. Where these blind people go. I mean, hey, listen, they're good for, somebody's 70, 80 years old losing vision and they want to just feel like there's other blind people in the world. That's cool. But when you got people our age going down there, going, I'm going to the Blind Center, we're going to make, whatever, ceramics today or some dumb shit.
Yeah.
In a leather belt,
Right.
Exactly. It frustrates us. And the reason why it frustrates me, obviously, and Max, is because we have no choice about it. There's never been a choice. But the people that lose their vision just give up and they just go and become the stereotypical stuff that we have to fight against. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have not, and you did not from the beginning. You just decided, I'm not going to go down that route.
Well, let me ask you, did you ever go to a place did somebody try to send you there and you went, oh, fuck no, I don't want to be like this, or Well,
I went to blind school and I found one in Chicago, Illinois, which was supposed to be, mostly younger people from Iraq and Afghanistan went to, and they were really good with technology and just younger guys. And I show up, and guess what? I'm the youngest guy there. Just because during the time, there was no other people, younger people there. But
you didn't see like we call it blind culture or blind behavior. There's just a certain, if you've been around it, the way they talk, the way they behave, it's weird. Where it doesn't sound like
it's like defeatist. It's not. Oh well.
Well, and I'll kind of add to that. There was, at blind school, we had to sit at a certain table to eat and certain seat every time. And one of the guys at my table, I'm not going to name any names, he goes, would you keep still doing this workout stuff and everything? Even, you may never be able to see again, why do you keep doing this? I said, because that's what I enjoy. That's me, I'm not going to let this beat me, and he was kind of, like you said, in that defeatist attitude, just because I can't see, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore, doing things anymore.
Yeah. And that's, and well, the infuriating thing is we'll see people, like myself, that were born blind, but the parents coddled them so bad that once they get out into the real world, they're going, oh shit, I guess I better go live in a group home or something,
Yeah, exactly. They are less functional than someone like yourself who was not born blind.
Right.
You're not born blind. You are more functional than people who were born blind who have been coddled.
That's true.
It's crazy. It's an attitude. It's attitude, I think.
It's a mindset.
And they say, and it's not like attitude is everything, and I'll kind of maybe talk about what I think you're getting at, is that I tell people when I talk, just don't ever give up. Don't quit. There's always another day. If you can make it through the night, there's another morning, and you'll start over the next day. You might have the worst day of your life, but don't let that define you. There's tomorrow.
Right.
Let's pick up tomorrow, and let's get up in the morning, and let's give it our damn best. It may or may not work out in our favor, but we just got to keep doing that. We got to keep getting up and keep trying. Just don't quit. Just don't let it beat you. Just keep fighting, keep crawling, scratching, gout, whatever you got to do. Don't quit. And there's help out there, and there's people that can help you. And if you have, like me, pretty bad PTSD, there's people and things that can help with that too. Don't try to fight this by yourself. Just keep going. Don't quit. Ask for help when you need it, and keep moving forward.
That's awesome. And that's what a lot of people, I think, need to hear. Because like you said, you have the
in general, and not just
not just for blindness. It's just in general. Just
in general.
Yep. Some people, they stub their toe and it's life's over, for them.
There's even people, you get shot in the arm and they die because they think just because I'm shot, I'm supposed to die. No, you get shot, fight. Or if you get hurt in like an automobile accident or whatever, fight. Don't quit.
I really think that's your military training, man. That's what made you kind of high. And obviously genetics and things, but I think a lot of that came from your military training, because some of the people we see just don't have that.
I would tend to agree with you.
That's wow. Well, hey, you know what? And we forgot to do this. Every time we have like a first responder or somebody in the military or former military, or whatever, we want to thank you for your service for sure. We forgot to do that in the beginning, man, and that's our bad.
Yes.
It was my honor and privilege to serve. And a lot of people ask me, knowing what you know now, Joe, you're blind, would you do it again? And I would say, I would tell them in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's great, man. Well, I think at this point, is there any like websites, social media, anything like that you want people to follow you on, or they can reach out to you?
Of course, I'm on Instagram under my name. Also, because the speaking thing is taken off now, and COVID kind of put a kibosh on it last year, but there's no convention or anything.
Yeah.
I have my own website now, and it's basically Joe, Joe, and P as in Paul for my last name, .us. So I have a website now. It tells about me and different things, and it has a way of contacting me if you would like me to do any speaking appearances or podcasts or things like that. So I have an email that things will go to and a way of contacting me. And that's probably the best way of getting a hold of me.
So joe.p.us, correct?
joep.us.
Oh, joep.us. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so just JOE and P as in Paul.us.
And we'll put that in the description of the video too. So, if anybody does want to contact you for a future podcast or speaking event, we'll definitely get you in there for that. And wow, that's
great interview. And like I said, I think it's a great perspective for different perspective. Like I said, Max and I are since birth, it's just a thing about our lives. Like, we are visually impaired or blind or whatever, while you had to have that contrast, yet you obviously are still keeping it in stride. And others can do the same because you're not dead. You're just you're not dead.
Just a different way of life. You know what? I want to ask you too, man. Have you ever spoken for NFB or ACB or any of those conventions?
No, and that's something I would like to expand on and do. I would very much like to give back and talk to people who are visually impaired or blind, or wherever you want to say it, to offer inspiration, and I want to say I was honored and privileged when you got a hold of me to even, speak in this podcast, because, I was,
you know what, man,
you thought of me.
This is real inspiration. Okay. When somebody sees that I wipe my own ass and they're going, "Oh, you're such an inspiration," that pisses me off. But when your story is true inspiration, this is the real inspiration, man, right here.
And I even want to add, since being blind, I've downhill skied too.
Oh yeah. Well, oh man, that's awesome.
In tandem skydived.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a friend who keeps talking about skydiving, but he's a fat fuck and he won't lose weight. And so he's just like, "Yeah, we're going to go skydiving." He asked me at first and I'm like, "Okay, I guess."
Here's a thing that people don't know about visually impaired and blind people is that they are avid skiers. I'm not a skier, but I know a lot of people.
I know some blind people that ski.
Yeah. It's not like some, "Oh my God, blind skiers." No, there's an avid, active whole thing of visually impaired and blind skiers.
Yep. My ex was one, actually. She used to do that. So, but the skydiving thing, man, that's I want to do that. But again, I have a friend that's a fat fuck and he doesn't want to lose weight. And, he keeps talking about us going, but we haven't gone. So you've done skydiving too, huh?
Yes. There's a guy in DEA, his wife owns a skydiving place in Monterey, California. And it's something that I always wanted to do. It was kind of a bucket list thing. And they're like, "Do you want to go?" Hell yeah. And how you want to jump? I said, "High as we can jump." We jumped at 16,000 feet. That's as high as you can jump without oxygen or prior FAA approval. And we did it.
That's awesome. God damn. Well, Joe, thank you for joining us tonight. And the rest of you guys, we'll see you all next year. I am Maxwell Silverhammer.
I am Cruise Control.
And that's the story there. Bitches. Yeah, we'll see ya.
We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred with Maxwell Silver.